Man, oh man, do I have some information for you. This is very important. This is going to be one of the most important videos I have ever made. I purchased a $35 study on the antiviral components of Polypore mushrooms, and technically the study is referring to these as agaricomycetes mushrooms, which I don't even really know what that means, but these are tree decomposing fungi. At the end of the day, I refer to that as polypores. There may be technical categorical differences, but it doesn't matter. And before I go over this study, which by the way was conducted by a whole bunch of doctors, these are a lot of references here, folks. You need to understand one thing. There are going to be a number of people who are just not going to have an open mind. They're not going to have their mind open enough to understand anything that I'm saying, and that's okay. It's okay to be foolish. You can kill yourself trying to turn these people's minds over because it's so frustrating, and I literally don't care. I don't care at all because this is extremely important and people need to know this information. The one other thing I'll show before I start, what better time to flaunt this? I won $10,000 at a Retail and Health Innovation Challenge sponsored by Wake Forest University, where I pitched to the pharmacology experts of the world. This was sponsored by CVS. And what for? Chaga. If you comment on this saying that herbal things aren't real, if mushrooms don't have benefits, I'm not gonna say you're stupid. I'm gonna say that you're lazy, because anyone that puts in the time to actually read about this quickly realizes that these are not things that we should be writing off as pseudoscience. False claim. Here we go. I'm gonna talk about Chaga. I'm going to talk about red-belted polypore, Fomitopsis pinicola. I'm going to talk about genus Ganoderma, not only Reishi, but what I like to call white Reishi, the artist conch mushroom. I'm going to talk about Felinus lentinus, and Felinus igniarius, Mishima. This is about all of them, but once again, Chaga is king. So this is a medical review, the antiviral effect of agaricomycetes mushrooms, published in 2016. I'm going to read the abstract in full, and then I'm going to read you guys highlighted sections of this study. One of the first scientific publications on mushroom medicinal compounds appeared in 1968 to 1969, which, by the way, I just want to say is a little bit inaccurate because Russia was doing this a lot between 1960 and 1965. Chaga was approved by the Moscow Academy of Science either in 1960 or 1965 as a cancer treatment. There are medicines derived from Chaga, antiviral medicines, anti-cancer medicines being used in Russia right now. But 68 to 1969 contained the results of an investigation of the anti-cancer activity of aqueous extracts obtained from fruiting bodies of wood-destroying basidiomycetes mushrooms such as Ganoderma lucidum, Reishi, Lentinus edodes, shiitake, Inonotus obliquus, Chaga, against cancers and hemoblastoses such as sarcoma 180. These compounds were polysaccharides, high molecular weight compounds from the class of carbohydrates. The first drugs derived from mushrooms were polysaccharides. The best known of them are lentinin, polysaccharopeptide, and polysaccharide crestin, which is PSK, used to treat cancer, from Ganoderma, from Trametes versicolor, Ganodurin from G. lucidum, Reishi, Plevrin from Pleurotus astriatus, which is the oyster mushroom, and Grifolin from Grifola frondosa, which is none other than maitake, the dancing mushroom. They possess anti-tumor and immunomodulatory properties. Later, it was found that polysaccharides and other compounds of agaricomycetes mushrooms could have an antiviral effect. The negative role of viral diseases has recently increased, and new types of viral infections have emerged. The problem of developing new antivirals has become increasingly acute, as we are learning so powerfully today. The search for new, effective preventive and therapeutic drugs against influenza is one of the biggest priorities of public health. There's all that I'm going to read from the abstract. And now I'm gonna get right into the details. Okay, this section is called Antiviral Effects of Higher Fungi, Agaricomycetes and Ascomycetes. The data obtained in this review indicate that many species of mushrooms and various classes of biological compounds derived from them can inhibit the development of viruses that are pathogenic to humans. This enables us to develop effective drugs that affect different stages of viral reproduction. The selection of efficient strains producing biologically active compounds, which can be used to develop antiviral drugs, is very important for the development of mushroom-based drug biotechnology. That means pick wild mushrooms over cultivated mushrooms in simple terms. You need to make sure that the mushrooms that you're actually working with are strong and powerful in the compounds that they are supposed to have in nature. So I can't emphasize that enough. This is section A, influenza. Analysis of the antiviral activity of the extract of Ganoderma poriferae against influenza virus type A and HSV1 revealed that the major antiviral components of the extract were triterpenoids, Ganodermidol, lucidiol, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing these right, but I'm trying, and aplanoxin acid G. Hispidin and hisbolon, substances that have an isoprenoid nature and are found in ethanol extracts of Inonotus hispidus, showed antiviral activity against influenza virus types A and B. Extracts of both fruiting bodies and mycelium exhibited antiviral activity. Antiviral activity of a gastroid fungi was investigated. A study of Phallus impudicus with respect to the influenza virus H5N1 showed that aqueous extracts from fruiting bodies inhibited viral replication in cells by 5.2 times. I believe that's a factor of 5.2. Aqueous extracts from fruiting bodies of the flat polypore Ganoderma applanatum, this guy, artist conch, white reishi, and the sulfur yellow polypore Latiporus sulphureus, which is chicken of the woods, increased. It says neutralization index expressed in logarithms up to 5 for Ganoderma applanatum, and a factor of 5 plus 1.67, plus minus 1.67 again for Latiporus sulphureus. Pseudosclerotial formation of the chaga mushroom, Inonotus obliquus, and the lung oyster mushroom were also among those especially active against influenza viruses. An aqueous extract of mycelium of the large polypore of genus Fomitopsis was active against different subtypes of the influenza virus. Extracts from Ganoderma applanatum, Latiporus sulphureus, and Inonotus obliquus were tested with respect to the pandemic influenza virus A/Moscow/226/2009 H1N1 on a maiden Darby canine kidney cell culture and then on laboratory mice. It was revealed that all studied mushroom extracts had low toxicity. It was also found that, so it's not bad for you. It was also found that basidiomycete extracts inhibited the reproduction of the pandemic influenza virus by 2.6 to 3.2, which was comparable to the effect of the reference drug Tamiflu, which was 2.9. 4 days after infection, the mice with the influenza virus, the concentration in the lung homogenates from animals treated with Inonotus obliquus was significantly less than in the control. The mice that were treated with chaga 4 days later had, I don't know what this unit means. It says by 2, and then it's either LG or 1G. If anyone's a doctor or knows that unit, please inform me. And it also says that the daily dose of the extracts was 366.7 mu grams per gram of the mouse body weight. So that is a starting point right there to determine chaga dosage. 366.7 mu grams per gram of the mouse body weight. Introducing table 1. This is my favorite part of the study. So they actually provided a table with a list of all of the fungi that have been studied, as well as the virus types here. And you can see there's kind of a scatter plot here. You can basically generally tell that some are effective for some viruses, others are effective for others. But there's one thing I really wanted to point out, which is where Inonotus obliquus falls on the second page of this table. Inonotus obliquus, Chaga, bam, 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 bam. So there are only 2 viruses that Chaga has not been identified to have antiviral properties for out of all of the viruses that Chaga has been tested on, which is remarkable. That is remarkable. Now, using Chaga combined with other mushrooms seems clear to me, because there are many mushrooms in this table here. In fact, I should probably mention them, the ones that possess the 2 that Chaga does not. One of them is Lactarius torminosus. One of them is Lepista flacida. One of them is Macrocystidia cucumis. We also have Clitocybe nebularis. This is a lot. And Ganoderma applanatum does cover one of the types, the vesicular stomatitis virus that Chaga does not. So this is significant, and it looks like Ganoderma applanatum is probably the second most potent polypore for antiviral properties. Again, this is Chaga right here and artist conch. These are the 2 things I am drinking. Well, and I'm also taking vitamin C. So section B is human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Some mushroom compounds can exert inhibitory effects on HIV. It has been known that polysaccharides from polysaccharide crestin, PSK, and polysaccharopeptide from Tramedes versicolor can inhibit HIV-1 in vitro. They show immunostimulatory effects. Crestin supports killer cells of the immune system, and the polysaccharide protein complex inhibits the attachment of HIV-1, GP120, to the CD4 surface receptor and HIV reverse transcriptase activity. Some triterpenes of Ganoderma lucidum, red reishi, are active against HIV-1 in MT4 cell culture. A ubiquitin-like glycoprotein that inhibited the development of HIV was isolated from the oyster mushroom, Pleurotus austriatus. Positive results were obtained from Graphola frondosa fungus, maitake, glucans in HIV-infected patients. Now this right here is one important point. The compounds derived from Inonotus obliquus showed the highest activity against HIV in an MT4 cell culture from among 5 species of fungi: Inonotus obliquus, Lentinus edodes, Ganoderma applanatum, Felinus igniarius, my boy Felinus igniarius, and Fomes fomentarius, the hoof fungus, or the tinder polypore, they call it Fomes fomentarius, tested by scientists from Belarus and Ukraine. The minimum effective concentration of samples ranged from 0.4 to 10 grams per milliliter in different experiments. More info on dosing. Screening extracts of different basidiomycete species from Western Siberia also demonstrated that Chaga extracts possess the highest ARV activity. I don't know what that means, but I would say it may have something to do with antiviral, replication, ARV, I don't know. Fractions of aqueous and hydroalcoholic extracts of Chaga exhibited antiviral properties against HIV-1 at a concentration of 5 mg per milliliter when applied to an MT4 culture simultaneously with the virus. Chaga is capable of inhibiting HIV-1 reproduction by 50% at a concentration of 1.95 milligrams per milliliter. That's one compound that's derived from Chaga, so it's still a little tough to say. Section C, herpes virus. The study of the composition of aqueous and methanol extracts of the lacquered polypore mushroom Ganoderma lucidum, or red reishi, which significantly inhibited the cytopathic effect of the herpes simplex virus, shows their main components are polysaccharides and protein. It was found that glycoprotein extracted from reishi mycelia inhibited the cytopathic action of HSV1 and HSV2, without any noticeable cytotoxic effect, which is interesting. It was found that Lentinus edodes, which is shiitake extract at a concentration of 0.3 milligrams per milliliter, completely inhibited the release of virions of HSV1 from vero cells. So again, this is discussing some of those other ways. The authors suggest that the active ingredients of the L. edodes extract affect the virus itself or the cellular mechanisms associated with viral replication, which leads to the formation of defective viral particles. That's really interesting. I don't think that our medical community really has anything that does that. This is going in like fragmenting the effective and infective properties of the virus itself. Extracts of 10 of 121 species of higher basidiomycetes tested in France for the presence of antiviral activity proved to be active against the herpes simplex virus. Scientists also presented data on carotenoids isolated from the sulfur yellow Polypore Latiporus sulfureus, which possesses activity against HSV1. Aqueous extracts from polysaccharides of species of the genus Pleurotus, the oyster, were active against HSV2. The antiviral activity of aqueous extracts of fungi seems to be associated with the presence of polysaccharides. One of these other mushrooms that was promising for HSV2 was Fomitopsis pinicola, the red-belted polypore. We're getting there, guys. Bear with me because we're almost done, but the ending is really one of the most significant parts. By administering aqueous doses of Pleurotus austriatus at a dose of 0.4 milligrams dry matter per mouse a day, before infecting the animals with one lethal dose of HSV, 100% survival of animals was detected. Interesting. You can use this dosage as kind of a reference. I'm assuming that what they mean is they used 0.4 milligrams of dry material in order to create an extract, and that it was 0.4 milligrams of dry material per mouse. Now, this did the same with Inonotus obliquus at doses of 2 milligrams dry matter per mouse. Wow. That means that we can literally do this math right now. How much does a mouse weigh? That is question number one. How many mice are needed to take up the body weight of a person? Someone please figure that math out for me quickly and comment it. And then multiply that number by 2 milligrams. And then all of a sudden, you know exactly how much chaga, well, I shouldn't say exactly, you know how much dry matter of chaga you should extract and consume in order to survive HSV2. We're obviously not going to be injected with lethal doses of HSV2, but this just shows it's wildly effective. Fractions of an aqueous extract of Inonotus obliquus were shown to possess virucidal properties with respect to the hepatitis C virus, namely the ability to reduce infectious properties by 100 times within 10 minutes. That is incredible. West Nile virus. Extracts and total polysaccharide fractions obtained from aqueous extracts of Ganoderma mushrooms, Lentinus mushrooms, Pleurotus mushrooms, Tramedes mushrooms, Latiporus mushrooms, and Inonotus fungi genera fully suppress the infectious activity of the West Nile virus with an infective dose not less than 1,000 TCD. I don't really know what TCD means, but I'm sure someone else does. Please comment if you can add to any of this information. According to Paul Stamets, compositions consisting of fungi of the genera Fomitopsis in Ganoderma can be used for the prevention and treatment purposes against various viruses, including pox viruses. Extracts of the chaga mushroom exhibited the greatest activity against the variola virus. This is the theme here that we're learning about chaga. Their effectiveness increased when they were used according to the prevention scheme. That is, when the extracts were applied to vero cells a day before the virus inoculation. For example, the SI of the chaga aqueous extract increased from 7.4 to 29.8. Fungal extracts may have a direct anti-tumor effect. The anti-tumor effect of the ethyl acetate extract from fruiting bodies of the genus Felinus, administered at a dose of 50 milligrams per kilogram 11 times a day, was comparable to the activity of cisplatin. There's just so much evidence. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence. And here we're gonna go into these conclusions, okay? Here are the conclusions. The main biologically active compounds derived from basidiomycetes exhibiting antiviral effects include polysaccharides, proteins, glycoproteins, triterpenoids, and nucleosides. Many polysaccharides recognized as anti-tumor compounds also exhibit antiviral effects. The data on the anti-tumor and antiviral activities of the same fungal species indicate a correlation between these properties. In this context, the role of preparations derived from basidiomycetes can only increase because, in addition to preventing and treating viral infections, polysaccharides and other fungal compounds will contribute to the prevention of cancers, which have a viral etiology. Published scientific data also indicates that biologically active compounds from the same fungal species can exhibit antiviral effects against different pathogens. According to screening results, an antiviral effect was found in 32 of 59 mushroom species from natural habitats. Natural habitats. In 10 of these species, the effect was observed with respect to 3 or more viruses. Aqueous extracts from natural chaga exhibit activity against many viruses: HIV-1 and HSV-2 and the West Nile, influenza, vaccinia, and monkeypox viruses. This broad spectrum of antiviral activity is associated with the complex composition of compounds. An important condition for the development of new, effective biotechnological antivirals is the presence of active strains of basidiomycetes producing biologically active substances. Once again, these mushrooms can cure almost anything. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This is not intended to treat, cure, prevent, diagnose any disease or ailment, but we are in a serious time of crisis. This can help right now, and we all need to start talking about it. Information is being cyber attacked by China. I didn't think I would go there in this video, but here I am, and I'm going to talk about it. There's a guy named Cliff High on YouTube. He has 80,000 subscribers. He has 50,000 followers on Twitter, which is significant because of these cyber attacks, he has to make a new account every single goddamn day. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this, but he's really pushing this. I haven't even gotten the time to watch all of his videos. I'm not saying I support his argument, and I'm not saying I have any opinion on it, but what I am saying is that he's gaining a powerful following. It's directly influencing my sales. I found him because he tweeted my website link on April 1st, and it was the highest web traffic I have ever seen. And he is saying that he was in direct contact with an herbal doctor who was supplying chaga and high doses of vitamin C to Wuhan during the duration of this outbreak, and he's claiming this is a Chinese bioweapon, and they are quite literally launching cyber attacks on him. And I have reason to believe that there are cyber attacks being launched on myself for spreading real information. I believe America is good. I believe the FDA is good. I'm not afraid to share this information because I know that this is easy enough to learn, that people will figure this out, and this is a very important time. We face an enormous test right now. Are we going to take this stuff seriously? We need to understand, before I go, the only reason that we are not using chaga as medicine right now is because we came here as colonists and we killed off the native culture, the native Americans that lived on these lands, and we lost a lot of knowledge. We did not grow up here for thousands of years utilizing our natural resources. They did in China. That's why you can find research on Reishi as far back as the Han Dynasty 2,000 years ago. That's why China has a much lower number of cases than the United States does right now, despite being the epicenter of this pandemic and despite having an enormously large, densely populated population. They know about this stuff. That's the difference. Our medical experts are figuring it out right now, and we're about to enter a time of unprecedented medical change, and I promise you, Chaga is going to play a big part in it. If you're not a believer by now, you're a damn fool.